Emily had always been drawn to antique shops and flea markets. Her weekends often spent wandering through aisles filled with relics of the past. She loved the history behind old objects, the stories they carried, the lives they had touched. It was like holding a piece of someone else's life, a fragment of time long gone. One particular Saturday, while browsing a bustling flea market in the city, she came across an antique mirror that immediately caught her eye. The mirror was large, standing almost as tall as she was, with a beautifully ornate frame. Intricate carvings of vines and flowers twisted around the edges. The gold leaf, paint chipped in places, but still retaining an air of elegance. The glass itself had a faint, silvery sheen, giving it a slightly hazy quality, as though the reflection came from a dream. Emily couldn't explain why, but she felt a strange pull toward it, as if the mirror was meant for her. The vendor, an elderly woman with sharp eyes and a mysterious smile, noticed Emily's interest. "That's a special piece, dear," she said, her voice low and almost conspiratorial. "Been around for a long time. Belonged to an old estate before it found its way here." Emily smiled politely, not giving much thought to the woman's words. She loved the look of the mirror and the price was reasonable, so she bought it without hesitation. With some effort, she managed to load it into her car and drive it home. Her apartment was small, but she found the perfect spot for the mirror in her bedroom, directly across from her bed. It added a touch of vintage charm to the space, and she liked the way it caught the light from her window during the day. For the rest of the afternoon, she admired her new purchase, feeling pleased with her find. That night, however, something strange happened. Emily had fallen asleep as usual, the mirror reflecting the dim glow of her bedside lamp. Sometime in the early hours of the morning, she woke up with a strange, uneasy feeling. She glanced at the mirror out of habit, her sleepy eyes adjusting to the darkness. For a moment, she froze. The reflection in the mirror showed her sleeping, just as she expected. But there was something else, someone else in the reflection. A figure stood at the foot of her bed, partially obscured by shadow. It was faint, almost like a blur, but it was unmistakable. The shape of a person, standing still, watching her as she slept. Emily sat up in bed, her heart pounding in her chest. She scanned the room quickly, but it was empty. There was no one there, no sign of the figure she had seen in the mirror. It had to be a trick of the light, she told herself, or maybe she was still half dreaming. After a few deep breaths, she convinced herself it was nothing and eventually drifted back to sleep. But the next night, it happened again. This time, the figure was clearer. Emily woke up to the same unsettling feeling, her eyes immediately darting to the mirror. Once again, she saw herself sleeping in the reflection, but the figure was there too, standing closer to the side of her bed. It was still blurry, its features indistinct, but its presence was undeniable. Fear crept up her spine as she stared at the reflection. She turned to look behind her, but the room was empty, just as before. The mirror, however, showed something different. The figure wasn't in her room. It was only in the reflection, as if it existed solely within the glass. Over the next few nights, the figure grew more distinct. Each time Emily woke up in the middle of the night, the reflection showed the figure standing closer, always watching her as she slept. Its shape became more defined, the outline of a head, shoulders, and arms slowly emerging from the blur.